Man saves Lioness Cub. See how the lion reacted to seeing the man 7 years later. Adolfo is a man who lives an ordinary life working as a zookeeper. However, one day he faces a particularly challenging situation for an average person. He encounters a small lion cub. Although other people at the zoo wanted to feed and keep the cub as a pet, Adolfo did not allow it, but Adolfo had no idea how to take care of this little lion. He was unsure of what to do. The small lion gazed at Adolfo with trembling, frightened eyes, its hunger evident. Adolfo realized that without immediate help, the little lion might not survive. Determined to save it, he decided to take the cub to the best place he could think of, a wildlife sanctuary. Still very young, the lion needed maternal care and attention, and Adolfo felt confident he could provide what it needed. After some thought, he chose a beautiful and meaningful name for the cub. Inspired by the Lion King, he named her Kira, a name as special and sweet as the little lion herself. The name Kira held deep meaning for Adolfo, symbolizing God's precious light and brightness. To him, Kira had truly entered his life like a ray of light. Adolfo embraced his role as her foster parent, providing motherly care and affection while also serving as her protector and guide. He raised her as though she were a domestic cat, but the reality remained, Kira was a lion with the instincts of a hunter. As she grew, it became clear that the wildlife sanctuary would not be sufficient to accommodate her needs. Adolfo found himself in a constant dilemma, deeply attached to Kira, but increasingly aware of the challenges her presence posed. New laws added further complications, and as Kira began to demonstrate her natural hunting skills, she became a potential danger to the other animals in the sanctuary. Adolfo realized that for the safety of the other creatures and for Kira's own well-being, she could not stay there indefinitely. Adolfo and Kira shared a deep bond, often showing their affection through hugs and playful interactions. However, this close relationship did not extend to others, and Adolfo knew he had to carefully consider Kira's future. Many people around him urged Adolfo to release Kira into the wild, believing it was the right thing to do. But Adolfo understood the harsh reality. Kira would not survive on her own. Though a lion at heart, she had been raised as a pet and had no experience living in the wild. Releasing her would be akin to abandoning her to a certain death. Lions are social animals that thrive on pride, and Kira lacked the skills and connections needed to adapt to life in the wild. These challenges made it clear that reintegrating Kira into her natural habitat would be nearly impossible. The best option Adolfo could think of was to send Kira to a place where she would receive special care, and where other big cats lived. Adolfo made his decision and began looking for a place for his small lion. Finally, he founded the Black Jaguar and Tiger Foundation in Mexico City. This foundation agreed to take care of Kira. Upon reflection, this foundation seemed like the perfect place for Kira to live. The foundation was highly specialized in this area and did its best to care for big cats like Kira. However, like all good things, there was a downside. The foundation was far from Adolfo. He wouldn't be able to see his beloved lioness, whom he cared for and loved like his own child, as often as he wanted. And Adolfo was genuinely afraid that Kira would forget him. But Adolfo had no other choice but to go through it. Being forced into this decision caused him great sorrow for a long time. Kira was placed in the foundation. This was now her new home. Kira also had difficulty adjusting to this new situation. She felt very sad and depressed. This foundation and this place were very new to her. She missed Adolfo. After some time, she managed to find a new family for herself. Over time, she recovered and improved. Kira had now adapted to her new home. Honestly, she seemed to have forgotten her foster father, Adolfo. But for Adolfo, the situation was different. He would never forget the lioness he had loved and hugged like his own child. Kira was always on his mind. He wanted to see his lioness again, but there were many issues he needed to resolve first. He had to wait for a while because the foundation had asked him to. Seeing Kira, who was sad when she first arrived, could make things worse. For example, it could hinder her adaptation to her new home. Another issue was the safety of the other animals for which Adolfo was responsible. He couldn't just leave them. Additionally, the foundation was quite far, and the journey to the foundation would be expensive for Adolfo. On top of all these issues, he had to work. Protecting wild animals was a great passion for him, and he loved his job of taking care of them. Still, Adolfo wanted to find a way to see Kira because he could never forget her and missed her terribly. The only thing that comforted him was the thought that Kira had adapted to her new home and was happy. 7 years had passed, but Adolfo had never forgotten his beloved lioness, Kira. Now financially stable, he finally had the time and resources to visit her. Though he feared she might have forgotten him, his longing to see her outweighed his doubts. After 7 long years, Adolfo set out with a glimmer of hope. The anticipation was palpable. Everyone was anxious and curious to see whether Kira would recognize the man who had once been her foster father. They watched closely for any sign of recognition. Since Adolfo was an experienced zookeeper, the sanctuary staff allowed him to enter Kira's enclosure, a risky decision. They warned him, however, that he would bear full responsibility for any issues that might arise. What Adolfo did was undeniably risky. If Kira failed to recognize him and perceived him as a threat, the situation could turn dangerous. Despite having cared for her as a cub, she was still a lion, no longer the small, playful creature he once knew. Kira had grown and changed during her time at the Foundation. Living among other lions, she had become a strong, respected lioness. To her, the human parent she hadn't seen in years could very well have been a distant memory. But Adolfo was resolute and willing to take the risk. With his decision made, he opened the gate to the enclosure and stepped inside. Kira greeted him with a curious yet strange look, her behavior marked by an unusual impatience. When Adolfo called her name, Kira responded by excitedly pawing at the cage door as if trying to open it. However, this grown lioness was no longer the same cub he remembered. She easily knocked him to the ground, her demeanor almost accusatory, as if expressing her feelings about the time they had been apart. At first, everyone was terrified and stood frozen in shock, but it soon became clear that Kira's actions were driven by joy, not aggression. She had no intention of harming Adolfo. To everyone's surprise, Kira instantly recognized him and embraced him with affection. It was like a little girl reuniting with her father after years apart. Adolfo, equally overjoyed, felt the happiness of a father reconnecting with his child. Despite the 7 long years that had passed, the bond between Adolfo and Kira remained unbroken. Their reunion was as heartfelt and intimate as ever, proving that time had not diminished their connection. This story of Kira and Adolfo is a testament to the remarkable long-term memory of lions, rivaling that of humans. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.